Hi everyone, welcome to Serpente Sunday for Sunday, July 25th, 2021. I am Lori with Behavior Education at Spirit Keeper Equine Sanctuary. And in this Serpente Sunday, we are going to go over some follow-up, starting with something that we talked about in the last episode of Serpente Sunday. I'm going to update everyone on the latest videos that come out every week. And then I'm going to answer some questions, some very good questions that have come up from viewer comments. I'm going to answer the simple ones this week, and then I'm actually going to make some short mini courses to answer some of the more complicated questions. I'm joined by Normal right now. He's one of our corn snakes that came from Port City Pet. And I think the simplest thing for us to do is to update you on the build for our black box enclosures. So let's take a look at where I'm at with that project. This is where I'm at with my latest black box cages enclosures build. These enclosures are 3 feet long and 2 feet tall, and I just received 3 of them last week. I put this first one together last week, and last week's Serpente Sunday was about this enclosure build and how I put that together. There is a snake in here now. She's been in here for several days. She's already had 1 meal in here. She seems to like it and she's doing quite well. We put together this second one, and then the third one still has to be put together and will be stacked on top. There is not an animal in this one yet. Well, there literally is an animal in this one right now. Normal is in here, but Normal's not going to be living in here. Another Papuan carpet python is going to be going in here, but I don't have it finished yet and it's not ready for the animal yet. I will pick up the camera here and show you a close-up of the inside and let you know what still needs to be done and what we've done so far. Here's the whole enclosure from the front. You can see that Normal's inside there. I just put him in there to chill out while I was doing the video. There's no substrate in here yet, but the shelving is in. I have 1 perch in. I have the light fixture in for the halogen bulb and for the UVB light bar, and actually the bulbs and everything are already installed. I've got the sky hide in, and I still have to put substrate. I still have to add more perching, and then I have to obviously add all the ground hides, like the humid hide that I always put, 1 enclosed ground hide, a rock, and any other foliage that I intend to add to the enclosure, as well as drinking water and possibly a water dish large enough to swim in, depending on how much room I have in here once I finish putting in everything else that I intend to add. Here's another look at the completed enclosure with the snake in it. And she's a Papuan carpet python. She's there on her rock, and she probably thinks that I'm going to train and feed her again, but I'm not. You can see that I've added her rock and humid hide and 1 of her plastic hides from her old enclosure. There's her halogen and UVB. There's her shelf. She's already checked out and utilized her sky hide. I've seen her in that. I've seen her using her shelf. I've seen her using her perching. I've put her water dish down here on the right side, and I've added another perch underneath the shelf, as well as a log and a rock. So we'll see how she does with this, but so far she likes it. Here's one more look at the one I need to finish as I get Normal out, although he seems to have made himself quite comfortable. He has been on that shelf, either crawling around on it, hanging off of it, or stretched out on it the whole time he's been waiting in here for me. So I see one of these enclosures in his future, and I absolutely will make sure that he has a shelf in it because he seems to like this one quite a lot. So one of the questions that I actually got from a viewer was, how do I install, not how, but where do I install the fixtures in my enclosures? And as you can see, in this enclosure, and this belongs to John Shepherd, one of my Morelia Bredli, I install all the fixtures on one end of the enclosure. So this is a 5 foot long by 2 foot deep by 2 foot high black box cages enclosure. And I have them routed so that I can put the UVB fixture and the halogen fixture all on the same side, so that the snake is able to access the sun or the simulated sunlight and UVB if they choose to, but they can also get away from it by going to the middle or to the other end of the enclosure where that light and heat is not getting to. And right below the halogen bulb, I have a rock, an actual real rock from outside. So that heats up during the day, and then at night, just like it would in nature, it's available as it radiates that daytime heat back off into the atmosphere for the snake to sit on and get heat at night. I don't heat these enclosures at night. And it's summertime right now in the United States, so I'm rarely turning on any fixtures right now, but a typical winter day or cooler day, I would turn these on in the morning and then turn them off at night. Another question that I got recently in regards to the video that I did on the DIY do-it-yourself enclosure was, what size are these doors on the front? Well, these came from Specialty Enclosure Designs, and they manufacture these portals in various sizes. So I actually have more than one size of these. Let's take a look at this particular enclosure and see what size these are, because this is the enclosure that the question was generated about. So this is 12 inches long and 10.5 inches high. And I've installed 2 of them in this particular enclosure. And it's a tub that I've converted into an enclosure. And it is 3 feet long and 17.5 inches high. And it is 21 inches deep. So this is actually a pretty good sized tub. And I use these tubs for quarantine, for temporary enclosures, for snakes that are under medical care, or for juvenile snakes that are going to eventually move into a permanent enclosure that's going to be much bigger when they're an adult, or for small snakes as a permanent enclosure. Let's go look at the other sizes that we have here. This one's installed on a smaller tub that I actually don't use as an enclosure. I use it as a transport tub, as a feeding bin, as temporary containment, as a bin to weigh animals in. So I just have a small door on this one. It's 8 inches long by 4.5 inches deep. And then let's take a look at this one on the bottom. This one actually was a living enclosure for a juvenile snake that has moved up into a larger enclosure. And this portal is 10 inches long by 9 inches tall. And then I think this is the only other size that I have. This is on one of those large tubs again that's about 3 feet long and almost 18 inches high and about 21 inches deep. And this portal is 9 inches by 10 inches. If you're the one that asked that question about the size of the Draco portal, there's your answer. I have several sizes. They are called Draco portals. You can get them from Specialty Enclosure Designs at specialtyenclosuredesigns.com. They do not come with glass or plexiglass. So what you have to do once you get your portal is you have to go to a glass shop and have the glass cut to fit. And they give you the dimensions that are going to be needed with the instructions for installation of the Draco portal. Our glass shop also gave us the option of having plexiglass cut for that instead of actual glass. But that's the story on those portals that I put in the tubs. They come in many sizes. They're called Draco portals. They are from Specialty Enclosure Designs. And they come as just the frame with the screws to install them and with installation instructions. But you have to buy the glass to make the doors. Normal apparently really liked that black box cages enclosure. He didn't want to come out. He really seemed to like that shelf. He's in a 24 by 18 by 18 ExoTerra right now because he's still kind of small, but he obviously will need a larger enclosure when he grows to adult size, and he certainly seemed to like that one. And he spent the whole time I was filming some other things laying on that shelf and climbing around that shelf. But I thought I would show you this Chondro tub because we were talking about tub enclosures. And this is a tub that's a Rubbermaid tub, and it already came with this door in it. And I learned how to make these from Zach Baez, and you can go to his YouTube channel. He has a video about making Chondro tubs and installing the perching and installing the little door security. Unfortunately, I don't think Rubbermaid makes these tubs anymore. I bought 4 of them a few years ago, and they really come in handy, and I would like to have more, but I can't find them any longer. So if you can find these Rubbermaid tubs with the front opening door that's clear, or something similar that's maybe a different brand, let me know, because I would sure be interested in having more of these, because they work excellent for transport, for temporary enclosures, for quarantine, and they also work really good for outreach. When we were doing educational outreach prior to the pandemic, and we would go to events, these were perfect to take to events with us, because we could allow the snakes to remain in the enclosure. We could open the top, we could open the front, and people could see them climbing or burrowing or whatever was natural for that particular species of snake. And then we were also able to transport them to and from the events in these. So I really liked them. So I was able to update you on where I'm at with my black box cages enclosure build. As I mentioned in last Sunday Serpente's Sunday video, we have 14 enclosures from black box cages, and these are the last 3 that I had to put together. 2 of them are put together. There's an animal in one, so I have 1 more to put together, and then 2 more animals to put in them. If you have any questions about these enclosures, I'm happy to answer them, or you can contact Black Box Cages, and they have an Instagram page, a Facebook account, or you can go to blackboxcages.com. I highly recommend them. I've been extremely happy with them, and I do plan to order more enclosures from them. The other thing that I did was I went over some simple questions from viewers. One of those being what size the tub portals were. Specifically, they asked what size the doors were in the tub in the DIY enclosure video. But I went ahead and explained what size Draco portals I have in all of my tub enclosures here and where to find those. Again, that's at specialtyenclosuredesigns.com. And then I briefly showed you one of the Chondro tubs. Unfortunately, I don't think Rubbermaid makes those tubs anymore, but if you find out something different, please leave a comment or message me and let me know, because I would love to get more of those. They're very versatile. I had some other questions that were really great questions from viewers in the last few weeks, and those involved behavior science and training and are a little bit more complicated, and so I would like to dedicate entire episodes to those. One of those questions was how to differentiate between stress behavior, stereotypical behavior, and just behavior from a snake when they are eager to come out and engage in some type of activity. So I'm going to do some mini classes, and I will tell you exactly what each of those things look like. But just briefly, until I'm able to get those published, stress behaviors are going to look like the things on the green, yellow, and red body language chart that is on the front page of my website and that I have shared on Facebook lots of times. It shows green behaviors in the comfortable and relaxed zone. It shows yellow behaviors in the moderately stretched outside my comfort zone area or moderately stressed zone. And then it shows red behaviors in the zone where the snake is over threshold and stressed out of their mind. I'm going to do a video about the different types of stress, which are good stress, tolerable stress, and toxic stress. I'll explain what that looks like in a snake. And then I will also do a mini class on stereotypical behavior. I did a brief behavior bite segment in a recent episode of Royals on the Ranch, which is our series about the behavior, temperament, and trainability of Python Regis. And I think the question stemmed from watching that video where I mentioned stereotypies. So I will do a short class on stereotypies, but just briefly, those look different from stress behaviors in that stress behaviors are those things on the chart that's available, and stress behaviors are going to look very random. They may look frantic and they may change. Stereotypical behaviors are going to actually look quite routine. It may be something that the snake's doing over and over again repeatedly, but without purpose or seemingly without purpose. And if you change something about the environment or the context in the moment, those stereotypical behaviors may continue. And then eagerness to come out of the enclosure, or behavior that you're seeing within an enclosure that may be interaction with the lid or the door or with edges that isn't stress behavior and isn't a stereotypy, is going to look like goal-directed behavior. In other words, it's going to look like conscious effort is being put into performing that behavior in order to facilitate some kind of an outcome. So when you walk in the room and turn the light on, the snake comes out of their hide and they come up to the door and they wait. And if you don't open the door, they may start pacing. And if you don't open the door, they may start pushing on it where they know the door usually opens. And then if you open the door, they come out. And they're comfortable and relaxed about coming out and going about their business. So that's a goal-directed behavior. So those three things are all going to look very different. Stress behaviors or distress behaviors, stereotypical behaviors that are usually stemming from not being able to perform natural behaviors in captivity. And then goal-directed behaviors are going to all look different. So I thought I would do some mini courses about those different things. If you have questions about anything related to snake behavior or training, or animal behavior and training in general, because I do work with other species as well, please comment below and ask me. I will try to answer those in future videos or do short classes about them, or just personally answer you in a comment. If you have suggestions for future videos, I have a long continuing list that is being added to all the time, but I'm happy to add your suggestions to that list. And eventually, over the next few years, hopefully I'm doing these videos for many, many years, I will get to your questions or your video ideas. If you have any questions about some things I went over tonight that maybe I didn't explain well or that generated even more questions, please ask me those, message me, contact me at behavioureducationllc@gmail.com, via my website at behavioureducation.org, or through Facebook or Instagram. And then I want to remind everyone that the first Sunday of the month is Super Dwarf Sunday, where we feature our Super Dwarf reticulated python from Reach Out Reptiles, and that is Tau Ceti, or TC for short. And he just shed this morning. He was just fed tonight, and next week is the first Sunday of August. I can't believe that. But next Sunday is August 1st, so it is Super Dwarf Sunday, and he should be ready to go with no excuses to accompany me in that video. On Tuesdays, I still post training videos. So they may just be a training session with one snake. They may be a training session with several snakes where I'm just showing you the actual session, or it may be a training concept that I go over and demonstrate or discuss with you in relation to how my snakes are being trained. And then on Thursdays now, we have the Royals at the Ranch series, which is about Royal Python behavior, temperament, and training. Okay, I think that's all I have for this Serpente Sunday. Until next time, everybody, please remember to always be kind and love your animals. Okay, I have a PS for you, or an after credits roll. But this is an exercise tent, one of 3 that we have for our snakes, one of our Royals at the Ranch. And as you'll see, his enclosure is in here with him. And that is because this particular study animal is extremely outgoing. And he stands apart from the rest because since his arrival, he has rarely hidden. He perches or rests up high a lot. He climbs a lot. He's active both during the day and at night. And he is wanting out of his enclosure quite a bit. This is the quarantine enclosure that I put him in. And he's been coming out a lot. And today he asked to come out like 3 times. I kept letting him out for a while and then putting him away and letting him back out. And so I finally just couldn't watch him anymore. And I put him in this exercise tent earlier today. And he's still in there. And it's the middle of the night now on Saturday night / Sunday morning. And as you can see, he's found a spot that he seems to like up here on top of his enclosure at the very top of the exercise tent. His name is Sarek. He was born on June 11th, 2021 and arrived on July 7th, 2021. So I got him at just 3 weeks old. And I basically am raising him like I would a Morelia Bredli, and maybe that has something to do with his behavior. I'm not really sure, but he's extremely outgoing. He's eaten 2 meals since he's been here, and I'm target training him and giving him absolutely as much environmental stimulation and enrichment as I can, as long as he is not behaving like he's distressed or fearful or afraid. I'm just giving him as much as he wants to take in. He's probably wondering what's going on with me doing this, because his behavior looks a little tentative to me right now. But I'm in his face with the camera filming him, and I can't really blame him. But as he lives here longer, he'll obviously get used to this.